Welcome to Safe Settings Podcast. I am so happy that you're here today. If this is your first time, you are welcome. And if you have been listening to us before now, you are welcome back. My name is Adedamola Flourish Balami, and I'm your host on this episode. In this episode, we'll look at the topic self discovery and identity. We'll be looking at how to help children and teenagers develop and discover who they are. Our focus will be on understanding identity development in children and teenagers, understanding strength, interests, and personality differences, as well as why comparison is harmful and curiosity is helpful. So, by the end of today's episode, we will be able to understand how to notice and affirm a child's natural strength. How to ask questions that invite self awareness and how to avoid labeling, which limits growth, whether for adults or for children. Once again, you are welcome. And as we are talking about helping children and adolescents discover who they are, we'll be looking at their strengths, their interest, and inner world. This is about curiosity. It is not about control. It is about presence and not pressure. So it's not about what we think the children should be. Rather, it is about what we are seeing them becoming. Children are not as we think or as we want them to be. They are stories that are already unfolding. So it is our responsibility to watch them and see what they are becoming. Our role is not to shape them into what we prefer. Our role is to notice who they are already becoming and understand how to relate to that, how to nurture them, and how to identify their strengths and capabilities. When children are allowed to explore their interest and strength, which most of the time we always look at in the area of academics. Beyond that, children have interest. They have a way that they want to relate with friends, with people. Your child even has a way that they prefer to relate with you. It is important to understand how each child is and how they are exploring their strengths, their interests, and how they are developing confidence and clarity as they go on. Because when we allow them explore their strength, these are the results. They develop confidence, they have better clarity, and they are able to also make the best of that strength that is innate to them. So when they are constantly compared or labeled or shamed or judged, or what we think is our responsibility as parents, when children are constantly corrected, they tend to develop anxiety around us or in that space, in that environment where that is taking place. The child tends to develop anxiety, and this limits growth. It limits identity development because now they don't know how to behave. They don't know who to please. They don't know when to be themselves because they want to just fit into that mold that we are creating in our own mind. Here are the questions that we're going to that will guide us on today's topic. The first question is, how can adults support identity development without pushing? Oh, he looks like his dad. He's just like his father. And so we start pushing the child. Don't you see how your father sits? Wear this kind of clothes that your father wears. Wear this color. We just start pushing. But the question is, how can we support a child's identity development without pushing? Now, we can do that by offering curiosity instead of control. What do I mean? Instead of deciding who a child should be, we become interested in who the child is becoming. This child just has a way of dealing with people. This child might be, you might look at the child and say, this child might be the most quiet. But at the end of the day, it develops more friendship than others who are gregarious and very outgoing. So you are watching how they unfold to see what they are becoming. So it looks like you ask them questions, open-ended questions. What do you enjoy about this thing that you do? Why do you like clowning about? What do you enjoy about making others laugh? Or is it just that you make yourself laugh? That is you being interested in understanding the child. You can ask a child, what do you like about yourself? We're going to soon put up our videos where we interview children, asking them what makes you unique. You will hear things that children think about themselves, things that some parents don't even know. That's how their children are thinking. What do you enjoy about what you're doing? What do you like about yourself? And when we do this, we should learn to observe without shaping. Just listen. If a child says, what I like about myself is so, 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 don't say, how can you like that about yourself? You are supposed to just watch, observe without rushing to shape, observe your child without rushing to fix. Because all these things will shut that openness down and you won't be able to see the real person. Also, we allow children to explore interest, even if the interests don't match our expectations. When children are growing up, especially when they are still toddlers, you ask them, what would you like to be in future? And so many parents are expecting to hear, I'd like to be a doctor. The child will say, I'd like to be a school bus driver. And the parents will say, God forbid, I reject it. It will not happen. But you have forgotten when you introduce that child to the cartoon Magic School Bus. And the child is actually interested in what the school bus driver did, leading the bus, picking the children, honking at the right time. You know, that is what the child is fascinated about. It's not the driving of the bus. However, if it is the driving of the bus, what do you care? Now, ask that same child in another year what the child would like to be. That same child will tell you they'd like to be an astronaut or maybe a pilot. Then parents will start being happy. Now, my child's head is correct. The child is getting sense, right? It's not that, it is that the child has been exposed to another aspect of life. And so, it is important for us to allow them explore their interests because you really don't know what is fascinating them in that interest. And it doesn't really necessarily have to match with your expectation as an adult. Remember that control says to a child, be this. This is what you must be. This is how you must be. And curiosity says, who are you? Curiosity wants to know who the child is, what is interesting them, what is fanning their interest in a particular activity, in a particular field, in a particular behavior. A child that behaves somehow, why is the child behaving like that? Maybe they want to look like their teacher. Maybe they have seen someone act that way and they want to follow suit. And also, we should learn to create space instead of pressure because children need room to experiment. A child might tell you, "Can I get some precise precision instrument?" I think that's what it's called. Because the child has found an old laptop or old iPad that the child wants to unravel. They need space instead of pressure. So give them room to experiment, give them room to change, give them room to try and fail. If your child picks an old iPad that you are not using again, says he must fix it and he doesn't get it fixed, he has tried and failed. Now, it's his curiosity that will help him through. Or you two can now step in and guide. But they need that room to experience and grow without feeling that their worth is tied to getting it right. When children are not pressured to get it right, your mates, do they have 10 heads? Those who are building, your mates are in India, building high tech, you know, equipment or tools. You are here wanting to play with iPad. What do you think you are doing? So, when we ask the question, how can adults support identity development without pushing? Because we look at the current world and we say, if you don't push your children, your child will come home and tell you they want to be maybe a content creator without doing anything about it. They don't even know what it entails. Parents these days are concerned about different things that children want to become, especially anything that has to do with freelancing. It creates a major concern in children. But when we want to support identity development without pushing, it means we are observing without rushing to fix, without rushing to shape, without rushing to suggest what the child should be. Remember, pressure says be this, control says be this, whereas curiosity says who are you? Who are you becoming? I want to know. I want to be part of the journey. All right. And that difference changes everything, especially as the children are growing. Another thing that we should consider when we want to support identity development as adults is to create space. Like we said, space instead of pressure. So it looks like allowing their interest to evolve over time. Like I mentioned, the child went from wanting to be a school bus driver to an astronaut to a pilot, and the interest is still developing, you know. And these things, they have to do, it's the way we're wired, and it has to do with the age that the child is in. So we watching them evolve, creating the right environment around them, a safe environment where they can express themselves, and p- pro- uh, providing the right and appropriate guidance will help them go a long way in developing their identity. So, letting children change their minds without being shamed. Yesterday you said you want to be a doctor. Now it is a pilot. It is well. Just allow them. There's no need for shame. After all, even we as adults, we change our minds from time to time on different things that we want to do. Sometimes you are going on with a business and you see that this thing is not going anywhere. You start, you know, how do you say? You start remodeling it. You adjust yourself here and there. So why won't we give children the opportunity to do that? And we should not turn every behavior of a child to a permanent label. If we want to support their identity development, we can't afford to turn every little thing they do to a permanent label. He's a foodie. He likes sleeping, sleepy head. He's the singer of the house. It's just singing. It might change. It doesn't necessarily have to be a singer. It might be something in the music industry, but not necessarily a singer. Let's learn not to turn every behavior of a child to a permanent label. Pressure creates performance. Space creates authenticity. You want a child to blossom in their real capabilities. Give them space and support, a safe space where they can thrive. What the next question is, what mistakes do we often make when we label children? Obvious, obvious mistakes that we make when we label children. A behavior that is meant to be temporary, we make it permanent. We create a box around the child. We create the child into a mold and put the name, and the child starts going about with that limitation in their mind. Sometimes they grow up into that box. They want to fit in, they want to do everything according to what they have been called, even if it's not working for them, if care is not taken. Here are the practical uh, steps we can take, things we can take away from today's episode. Number one, ask open ended questions. Let us learn to ask children open ended questions like, what do you enjoy in what you're doing? What feels easy for you? We can't, we tend to fight them. How can you say you don't know maths? Math is simple. How can you not know English? How can you be scoring low in English? It's just a language. Ask them, what feels easy for you? Because you want to leverage on what they find easy to develop their interest in what feels like a mountain. But if everywhere they turn to, as far as you are concerned as the parent, is difficult, then even what they find easy might not be something they want to let you know they are interested in, because you don't countenance it. But when we know what feels easy for them, we leverage on it to develop their interest in other areas. Since they have found a place of joy, let them move from that place of joy to areas that are difficult, that they will need to learn to put in more effort to grow in. Also, let us learn to affirm efforts, not personality labels. Do not affirm labels that you are putting on the child. Affirm the effort they are making in becoming who they truly are. You want to understand how a child thinks. Especially you hear parents say they don't understand their teenagers. That is how all teenagers are. They are disobedient, they are lawless. I do not understand that labeling. They are individuals. They have minds. Their brains require space to be able to make right choices. Their brains require safety to be able to grow. So, our responsibility is to create space for growth, to create safety around that space, and to show interest that we want to understand who they are becoming. As we do that, we notice and that they are growing, and we notice that we're understanding the workings of their minds. You remember we mentioned to understand their inner world when we started. We have come to the challenge segment of this episode. And the challenge for this episode is to notice and name one strength that you see in your child this week. If it's not your child, if it's a child around you, your niece, your nephew, whether they are teenagers, whether they are youth, whether they are adolescents, or they are toddlers, notice one strength in them and write it down for this week. By that, we have come to the end of the second episode of Safe Settings podcast, understanding and helping children develop their identity. I am your host, Adedamola Flourish Balami, and I'd like you to keep this in mind. When a child is seen, they begin to see themselves. I say it again. When a child is seen, that child begins to see him or herself. Until next episode, bye bye.